You want to get rid of one of the players who can actually relate? You want to ban one of the players that men would actually pay to see? What the hell's wrong with these so-called fans of pretend basketball?
Sophie Cunningham's suspension wasn't just a technical foul, it was a declaration. And Caitlin Clark? She's furious. The WNBA's latest decision to sideline one of Clark's only on-court protectors has fans raging, players on edge, and league execs scrambling. This wasn't just another hard foul, it was a message. Defend Clark, and you'll pay the price. But here's the problem, ... Clark isn't backing down. In fact, insiders say she's never been angrier. And if the league keeps pushing, they may just force out the one player holding everything together. So what really happened, and what happens now? Let's break it all down.
And I think everybody's thinking like, well, they're treating Caitlin different. And I think if you listen to the people that are in the W, now granted, obviously, it has been absurd to watch every single thing that they've done to Caitlin. I mean, last year, in between free throws, girl goes over and they're saying, this is not different than anything. But I think the chippiness of the league has always been there.
Yes.
And I think that's what people that have watched W are trying. I don't know if they're explaining that enough to the new fans, but like, hey, it's always been this style of basketball. I think not a lot of people know that.
It started like any other heated matchup. Then came the moment that changed everything. With just seconds left on the clock, Sophie Cunningham delivered a hard foul on J.C. Sheldon. The refs called it flagrant. No one blinked yet. About one foul. It was about who got punished and why Sophie Cunningham isn't some fringe player. Eye pokes and body checks she's taken all season. Her role as an enforcer wasn't accidental. It was necessary. And now, it was calculated. They didn't just hand out a suspension. They sent a message. Even if you're defending the league's top star, you're not safe. What's more shocking is that this wasn't a career-ending tackle or an injury-inducing hit. It was a tough play, sure, but no one got hurt. But somehow, she ended up with the harshest penalty we've seen this season. Insiders say Caitlin Clark was blindsided by the league's decision, and she's furious, not just because she lost a teammate, but because she sees this for what it really is, a warning. The league wants to control the narrative, but Clark, she's not interested in playing along, and this time, fans aren't either. But this wasn't an isolated decision. It was just the latest betrayal in a long line of growing frustrations for Clark. ... Caitlin Clark has taken more hits this season than any rookie in recent memory, and most of them didn't come from the scoreboard. Elbows to the head, shoves off the ball, eye gouges that somehow never get called. Week after week, she's walked onto the court, not just as the league's biggest star, but as its biggest target. And through it all, silence from the league office, you'd think the WNBA would protect the very player keeping its ratings alive. But instead, it's looked the other way, allowing Clark to become a punching bag for jealous rivals and reckless defenders. Clark has absorbed 17% of the league's flagrant fouls this season. That's nearly 1 out of every 5 dangerous plays aimed at a single player. And the league's response? Barely a whisper. That's why Sophie Cunningham mattered. She was more than just a teammate, she was a shield. A player who wasn't afraid to step into the storm and say, "Not on my watch." When refs swallowed their whistles, Sophie stepped up. When bodies flew, she stood in the way. And now that she's gone, Clark isn't just disappointed. She's exposed. Sources close to the Indiana Fever say this suspension might be the final straw. Clark has kept quiet out of professionalism. She's played through bruises and black eyes. But the Cunningham suspension? That hit different. It's no longer about physical fouls. It's about the league sending a message to her support system. And that message couldn't be clearer. Defend Caitlin, and you're next. Behind closed doors, Clark's frustration is boiling over. And it's not just about her. It's about the future of a league that claims to support its stars while leaving them vulnerable on the court. Because at some point, the most competitive player in women's basketball will stop playing nice. And when that moment comes, the league won't be ready. And if the WNBA thought fans wouldn't notice, they were dead wrong. The moment the WNBA announced Sophie Cunningham's suspension, the internet detonated. Within hours, #ProtectCaitlin Clark was trending across social media platforms. And the outrage wasn't coming from just diehard fans, it was national. Commentators, ex-players, even casual viewers were asking the same question. Why is the WNBA punishing someone for defending their star player? Petitions began circulating, not just to reverse Cunningham's suspension, but to demand league accountability. The vibe was different this time. This wasn't just another controversial call, it was personal. Fans have watched Clark get shoved, tripped, and targeted with zero consequence. Sophie Cunningham was the one teammate who consistently had her back. And now the league had taken her away. The outrage wasn't just emotional, it was calculated. Fans started pulling stats. They noticed that Caitlin Clark brings in sold-out arenas wherever she plays. That she tripled Angel Reese's All-Star votes. That when Clark is on the court, the WNBA makes money. And when she's off, ratings drop by over 50%. That's not a fluke. That's power dot, and the fans know it. They're not fooled by PR spins or selective suspensions. They've seen the clips, the slow-mo replays, the eye pokes, the cheap shots, and the cold shoulder from refs. This time, they weren't going to sit back. Commentators slammed the league. Some called it the dumbest move in modern WNBA history. Others warned that the WNBA was risking the very audience it had just gained. New fans weren't tuning in to watch Clark get battered. They came for the excitement, the energy, and yes, the rising star power of women's basketball. And now, the league was punishing the only player willing to protect that star. But it didn't stop there. Sponsors were watching. And Clark, she was done staying quiet. And while fans were lighting up social media, far bigger threats were quietly forming in the background. Threats the league may not survive. What happens when the league's biggest star starts weighing her options? Insiders are now saying exactly that. Caitlin Clark may be looking for the exit. And if she does, it won't just be a loss. It could be a death blow to the WNBA's momentum. Leagues are already circling. Billionaire team owners in Spain, Italy, and Turkey are reportedly keeping close tabs on Clark's situation. And why wouldn't they? She's a walking sellout. When she plays, arenas pack out. When she sits, ratings crash by 55%. That kind of influence isn't just rare, it's historic. And yet, the WNBA is treating her like she's replaceable. Let's be clear, Caitlin Clark is the WNBA right now. She leads the league in jersey sales, dominates social media engagement, and has introduced millions of new fans to women's basketball. She's not just a great player, she's a global brand in the making. And the league's response to her repeated targeting has been ... silence. Or worse, punishment for those who stand by her. The suspension of Sophie Cunningham sent a chilling message. Protect Clark, and you're next. That's not just bad policy, it's terrible business. If Clark were to walk, the fallout would be catastrophic. Sponsors would pull out, viewership would plummet, and the message to future stars would be crystal clear. Your success will be punished. Executives behind closed doors are panicking. They know what's at stake. They've seen the offers quietly floated from overseas. Entire franchises could be built around Clark if she were to jump ship, and she wouldn't be the first. Other stars have taken their talents abroad for far less. But this is personal. Clark has been the league's golden goose, and now they're squeezing her too hard. The question isn't if Clark could leave, it's how close she is to doing it. And if she does, the ripple effect won't just hit the league office, it could reshape the entire future of women's basketball. While the league tried to move on from the controversy, Sophie Cunningham refused to stay quiet. In a statement that quickly went viral, she made one thing clear. Her foul wasn't an accident, it was a message. I did what others wouldn't, she said. I stood up for Caitlin, and I'd do it again. For fans, that wasn't just defiance, it was heroism. In a league where physical attacks on Caitlin Clark have become disturbingly routine, Sophie was one of the few willing to push back. She didn't throw a punch, she didn't start a fight, but she did something just as rare. She sent a warning to those who keep targeting her teammate, and now she's paying the price. But instead of backing down, Sophie leaned into the moment. She described the frustration of watching refs let blatant fouls slide. The eye gouges, the hip checks, the elbows to the head. Everyone saw it, she said. Game after game, Caitlin was getting hit and no one did anything. So she did something, and for that, the league suspended her. In the court of public opinion, though, Sophie won. Social media exploded with support. Clips of her stepping in for Clark went viral. Commenters praised her as the only real enforcer in the league. Memes labeled her Caitlyn's bodyguard, in a sport often dominated by silence and PR speak. Sophie's honesty cut through like a dagger. And here's the twist. Sophie didn't hurt anyone. She didn't break bones or end careers. She delivered a hard foul, something that happens in every competitive league across the world. But because it involved defending Clark, it suddenly became scandalous. Now, Sophie has become a symbol, not of violence, but of resistance. The kind of teammate every player hopes to have, and the kind of honesty the league seems to punish. But while Sophie stood tall in her suspension, another so-called star was fading fast, ... And the fans had something to say about that too. While Caitlin Clark is breaking records, drawing crowds, and carrying the league's momentum, another name keeps popping up for all the wrong reasons: Angel Reese. For months, the media has pushed the narrative that Reese is the face of the WNBA commercials, interviews, magazine spreads. She's been everywhere. But when the All-Star votes dropped, the truth came crashing in. Reese didn't just miss the top spot. She didn't make the top 5. She didn't even crack the top 10. Despite the constant spotlight, Angel Reese ranked 13th in fan voting, earning less than 1/3 of Caitlin Clark's total. It wasn't just a snub, it was a reality check. Because while Reese's media image is polished, her game has been ... inconsistent. Her shooting percentage is among the worst for qualified players. And many of her rebounds come from missing her own shots, a stat fans are now sarcastically calling a bump. Compare that to Clark, who leads rookies in nearly every meaningful stat, lights up highlight reels, and tripled Reese's vote count. Fans aren't dumb. They see through the PR, they're watching the games, and the numbers don't lie. And that disconnect is starting to unravel the WNBA's credibility. Why is the league promoting someone who isn't performing? Why are underperforming players being paraded in front of cameras while those doing the heavy lifting, like Clark, get body checked with no protection? These aren't just internet questions, they're existential ones. Because the league's survival depends on its authenticity. And right now, fans feel like they're being sold a product they didn't ask for. Even Reese's own words haven't helped. Last year, she claimed, the reason people are watching women's basketball isn't just one person. It's because of me, too. But when asked to repeat that statement this season, next question, she said, the media hype may have tried to shape the narrative, but the fans have spoken, and their judgment goes far beyond one player. It's about the entire direction of the league. The WNBA is standing at a crossroads, and its recent choices are sending the league spiraling toward an identity crisis. On one hand, it boasts a once-in-a-generation star in Caitlin Clark, who's shattered records, elevated viewership, and put women's basketball on the mainstream map. On the other, a league that seems more concerned with controlling the... It was a symbol, a message that grit, loyalty, and standing up for a teammate aren't values the league is willing to reward. And in doing so, the WNBA made its priorities painfully clear: image over integrity. Meanwhile, stars being hyped by media and league marketing continue to underperform and still get center stage treatment. Players like Angel Reese, despite low stats and a struggling team, get pushed as the face of the league, while Clark, who's actually delivering, gets targeted on the court and left out to dry. It's created a toxic double standard. When NBA legends like Jordan or Kobe trash-talked and played with fire, they were celebrated. But Clark, she's criticized. When male players had enforcers to protect them, it was called smart basketball. When Sophie did it, the WNBA wants the viewership Clark brings, but refuses to treat her with the respect that role demands. Fans feel it, players know it. And now, Clark herself is feeling the weight of a league trying to control her rise instead of support it. This isn't just about Sophie. It's about whether the WNBA can handle the very success it claims to want, or if it will tear itself apart trying to suppress it. And now, the league faces the biggest risk of all, because if Caitlin Clark walks away, the collapse won't just be emotional. It'll be financial, cultural, and possibly permanent. The WNBA was handed a generational star in Caitlin Clark, a player who sells out arenas, triples ratings, and brings millions of new fans to the game. But instead of protecting her, the league suspended her fiercest defender and allowed the hits to keep coming. Now, Clark's silence is cracking, her frustration boiling over, and the league's leadership is running out of chances. If she walks, the fallout will be catastrophic. Because this isn't just about a foul or a suspension. It's about whether the WNBA is strong enough to protect its future or foolish enough to lose it.